Okay, so once you get the purchase price, you can kind of start working the sources and uses. Like you want to do your uses first before you do your sources. It's like kind of buying a house, right? It's like how much does your house cost? How much you got to pay the real estate agent? All that stuff, right? So if I say, okay, we're gonna buy Twitter for 44 mil, Bill, great. Well, what are the fees? So usually they're going to be transaction fees, and usually they're going to be financing fees as well. Financing fees are hard to calculate, but transaction fees are very easy to calculate. They're usually call it 2.5% of the transaction, maybe 2%. So let's go with like two. Why don't we go with 2% transaction fee because it's a bigger deal, and that way, and financing fees can be 2.5% of the debt. Now it may be higher because Elon Musk basically went to a loan shark for this stuff. Like, I mean, BAML, some more, I think this BAM, like, yeah, some of the big banks took it on, but it was last I checked, it was trading the bonds are trading 60 cents in the dollar. But the guy, it's such a sketchy situation. So we'll see. But anyways, the point is, first, if you want to calculate what your total uses are, right now we're going to leave financing fees blank because we need to figure out the debt. Okay, how did I find out how much Twitter borrowed? You can Google it and they'll say 13 billion. But what I did is I actually found a pretty sweet Twitter thread. And this Twitter thread is great. Actually, it just shows you all the debt here. So I don't know, these guys, I'll give a shout out to them, ONG, Energy Credit One. They mostly do energy stuff, but yeah, they got some good stuff on Twitter on this particular thing here. I'll post a link in chat in case people want to read it. It has a ton of good info, and I'll probably want to do it here too. What are your thoughts on the independent sponsor EP model? Oh, that's a good question from Evans Ballas. I should probably put this. Sorry, it's my first stream, so I've got to manage the questions. But yeah, the independent sponsors, by the way, what they'll often do is they will like only take 2% of the equity, sponsor equity, and then like or like 2% ownership, I mean, and the co-investors will take the rest. And then meanwhile, they will charge a fee for bringing in the deal. So there's small guys trying to do a much bigger deal, bringing it to larger investors. They will take a transaction fee for bringing in the deal. Sometimes they'll even help manage the business, take a management fee, a percentage of EBITDA. So hey, it works actually really well. I actually work with independent sponsors. I'm working one right now on a 100 million plus deal, and it's actually really cool because they have kind of connections that perhaps the larger PE firms don't. They bring in the deal, they get paid, they roll in those proceeds into the deal, and it can be a lot of fun. And the structuring of the proceeds can work really well. So hey, if you're good at finding deals and you got the connections and you can sell it to co-investors, I think it's a great model, but you have to know what you're doing. Okay, moving on. Back to the model. Okay, so let's figure out the debt. Thanks for the question, Evans. Okay, so on sources, here are the different sources. So let's just start putting in the debt right now. So we got a $500 million facility for the revolver. That's going to be not drawn. So in other words, is the line of credit that can be drawn up to 5 mil. Then we have a first lien term loan. The first lien just means it's the most senior. So it's going to be the first that gets paid off. And then we have, looks like we got, there's a bridge loan. So senior secured, increasing rate fees is the long title, secured bridge loan. So bridge loan is when you really want to close a deal, but and you want to just get some debt fast. So it will hold you over until you get like more long-term loans. So you'll notice that I don't actually know when this bridge loan will eventually translate into an actual more long-term loan, but it looks like even a year from now, it'll still be the bridge loan anyway. So I don't know if there's like an actual bridge loan or just a bridge loan that lasts forever, but usually bridge loans are more expensive. As you can see, the pricing, we're gonna talk about the price in a second, but this is heavy. This is some expensive debt that our friend Elon Musk is taking because this is a big company, right? So and that's not really making any cash flow. We're gonna get into that in a second, but okay, so we got all the debt in here, and then we're gonna charge, I would say 2.5% fee. In reality, it could be way different. It could be higher, to be honest, but you know, I want to make sure we actually get some of this done and we have limited time. So so I'll just take 2.5% times that. Now, by the way, this thing is going to get capitalized, just so you know. You're going to see what happens with that, but it's going to get capitalized, become an asset in the balance sheet, get depreciated. So the whole point of doing this was just finding out the fees, right? It's like you buy a house, how am I paying for the house? How much am I paying for the real estate? This is how much money I need. This is how much money I've raised through debt. Where's the rest of the money coming? From our friend Elon Musk. We're gonna call him uh just Elon Musk equity. That'll be him. I should also really say it's I've learned you learn to always save your models up every 5 to 10 minutes, every 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, a little hardcore, but so I will do that right now. Just give me a sec, folks, and yeah, feel free to ask any questions as I go. So I know not everybody is familiar with LBO models, but okay. C Chia says the formatting used, is that the default formatting? Um, I would say so. Like in terms of this, yeah. Wait, why was actually yeah? What I usually do, I don't know. It's kind of got deleted for some reason, but what I usually do is I go Control 1, custom. I go to the very bottom and use this, and this is the formatting I use because it. Well, like I was kind of talking before. Whoops, except I don't want the decimal. So yeah, if you just go to like hit Control 1, you have a lot of options. I don't know why it's not letting me. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so jumping back to this, we got to figure out what Elon Musk's equity is, right? So I'm going to take the total uses and subtract the sum of everything else that's been raised. So we've raised like 13.5 bill of debt. Elon's putting up the rest, and so he's putting up like 32 billion. I could be wrong there, but like there might be other people in it. Obviously, I don't know, but like let's just call it. Let's just pretend he's doing it all just for simplicity. Um, and I guess we could Google that theory, like it's Elon Musk equity 32 billion Twitter. It's probably not all of him, like realistically, it's probably co-investors that I haven't talked about. It's a 33.5, apparently a little bit higher. Okay, whatever, close enough. Oh no, here's his 32 billion. Yeah, so I think I'm right. Maybe that sometimes news articles are not accurate. Okay, so it looks like he is putting it all up. And so he had to sell a lot of Tesla stock to do this, right? Tesla stock was falling like a crater when this was happening. They were like, wow, you're just gonna keep selling Tesla stock. Thanks. Awesome. Let me title this. And in terms of formatting, like there is no technically right format. Just do it the way you want to do it, but just make it look nice. Go vertical. That's my suggestion. And like, maybe I like to do this, like this people know what, like, where things are separated. So like adding a little border or color or something is sometimes nice. So anyway, so we got the sources and uses. We still have a lot of other assumptions we have to make, right? Like this is great. We know how much Elon's putting down. This is going to drive the IRR later, but obviously we need some more assumptions. So we also need some more data assumptions, right? Right now I just kind of like hard coded these numbers in, but I'd be curious to see what it is in terms of EBITDA. So why don't we take a quick look at their EBITDA and see what it looks like. So here's like Cap IQ. This is our last 12 months. EBITDA is looking at like 211, right? Okay, it's positive. It's Fiddle's 4% EBITDA margin. That has been steady declining since 2018. Great company, obviously. Okay, so LTM EBITDA, call it 211. And curious if it's like, I guess technically it's 210.9 now. It must be 210.99. There we go. Okay. So we got the LTM EBITDA. I'm curious to see what this is in terms of like a multiple, because usually debt is a multiple of EBITDA. Holy smokes. It's really, really high. Like normally LBO deals will be like max 6 times EBITDA. Because Twitter has garbage EBITDA, like relative to their revenue, you can't really even, it doesn't even make sense to look at it in terms of EBITDA, but like that's just the convention for LBOs. So I guess it is what it is, but we'll put it in, I guess. The reason I want to put it in rather than hard coding it is makes it easier to synthesize later. So it is just a good habit to like, rather than hard coding it in like what I did, is to just put the multiple, even if it is insane. These are insane multiples, like literally this is 59 times LTM EBITDA. That's crazy. Okay, so we'll do the first lien term loan first. So this will be multiple of EBITDA. Interest rate, once again, I'm going to take from the Twitter thread. SOFR, okay, so what is SOFR? SOFR is the main measure of, it's like, it represents the average cost for a bank to borrow. And usually they use 1 month SOFR. So right now, 1 month SOFR is, I think I have it here somewhere. I just Google it again. It's like 4 point, it's pretty high right now. 4 point something, 4.56, right? So, but anyways, the point is, yeah. So what you want to do is also have like a SOFR curve up here. These are kind of like my data assumptions. So 1 month SOFR. A company that does a good 1 month SOFR sort of forecast is these guys, econforecasting.com. Now these are rough numbers. I can't really like, but you know what you can do is try to forecast what it's going to be in the future, right? If you're trying to do this like legit. So you know what, so basically in the future it's going to be, we'll call it 2023 will be 1 year. So that'll be like year 1. Did my screens go black? Okay. I'm getting a new computer. This is probably why. Kind of scared me for a second. Okay, hopefully everybody's following along so far. I don't see any questions in the Zoom chat. All right, I'll read this. By the way, if any audio issues, just give me a shout. And I'm just gonna, oh, whoops, you guys didn't see that. All right. Sorry. Okay, back to it. And yes, this is going to take a lot longer than my last case study because we're actually doing a real company. So there's like all these little things you got to think about. Okay, so I'm going to just take the mid-year. That's probably a good, like, okay, so let's say July probably, or something like that. June's probably the mid-year. 4.86%. Okay, so it's 4.86% here. And then obviously because rates are like crazy high, right? And then the Fed, of course, the Fed's going to lower rates because inflation's improving, right? Hopefully. Okay, 3.31%. And normally you would make your inputs blue and all that. I just don't care right now. Okay. June 3.31. Oh wait, did I already do that one? Yeah, I did. Anyways, and then it goes on, but I can't see it. And I probably, oh wait, you can. Never mind. I lied. You can just drag it. So 2025 is like over here, I guess, June 2.76. So as you can see, SOFR is declining. So Elon's roughest year is going to be this year. Like this is his roughest. How far does this go? Whoa, this really goes pretty far actually. 2.72. So I guess what the market is implying is like rates are going to drop a lot because there's going to be a recession. And then they're going to be like, oh, but it's going to rise again because I don't know. I don't know why. I guess because the long-term average is closer to 3. So it's really funny what the market thinks sometimes. And I mean, it's interesting, right? It's like, holy smokes, the SOFR is going to drop like to almost half. Like it's pretty wild. Okay. Anyways, that's our SOFR curve. And all this debt these are floating debt. Floating basically just means it's based off of a spread, right? So like with junior debt, which is like kind of loan shark type debt, it's usually a fixed rate. But this is all technically senior debt, even though it's not priced like senior debt, but it's technically senior debt. Okay. So let's talk about okay, so we got the curve going here. Let's figure out exactly what so, and I have the multiples here as well. So now I can basically figure out like the actual amount of debt. So dollar amount. And so this is going to be equal. So I'm just going to link it because that way, if you want to, you can sensitize it later. And then same here, except so this will be multiple EBITDA. Let me just move this down. I'm going to lock this so that way I can just copy it down here and it'll just automatically work. And same here, so that'll work. And then Okay, so got some stuff going on here for the debt. Now let's figure out the interest rate. So we know it's going to be a spread of 450 for the 475 for the term loan. Also, we have a revolver, so I need to put in that as well. Okay, so I know this is a bit boring, so I'm going to probably switch to the forecast soon, but I just wanted to show you how to get debt assumptions in. And the revolver is going to be a spread of so drawn is going to be 0, right? Let me get rid of this. So 0. So they're not going to have any drawn, but it has a max of 500. So that's equivalent of, this is millions, right? Yeah. So that's equivalent of like 2 times EBITDA, more or less. So I'm going to hard code that. These are all hard coded so that we can sensitize later if you wanted to. That's just a better way to do it. And then this will be the maximum. So it can't go over that. You're going to need to draw on the revolver, trust me. Okay, and then it's going to be interest rate spread. That's going to be 475 basis points from over here, as you can see, but that's like basically 4.75%. It's just the fancy way to say that. So at first lien, we have 6.75. By the way, if I make any mistakes, let me know because I am doing this pretty fast. And we're just going to put in the spread for the rest. And we'll have interest rates for all of them, all this debt here. This will be, so we have 4.75. Hold on. I think I might have scuffed this. Yeah, I did. Sorry. This should be, so this should be 6.75%. It's always good to double check as you go, especially when you're live. 4.5%, 4.75%, 6.75% for this one. And then it's going to be a whole 10% spread, which is nuts. But it makes sense because this is risky stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna save up and we can keep going. Okay, so we got all the debt assumptions. We got the interest rate spread. I mean, I guess what I could also now do is just figure out the actual interest rate itself. So if I just like do this and take the spread and you know, kind of do that. That's basically interest rate, right? And I can just do that same thing, except make sure that it's off of the right spread for each, and I'll have an interest rate for everybody. Everybody is happy. Sometimes it's good. One thing to do is just like, if you go to general and you do apostrophe, you'll just like people know that it's like in the future. So it might be good to do. Cool. Okay, so now I have interest rates for everybody except for the last one. Let's just do that one. I know this is probably like one of the more boring parts in LBO is watching somebody type in assumptions, but you know, it's hard to make this super exciting, unfortunately. Okay, but what is interesting here is look at the interest for that last piece of 3 million. This is billion, sorry, 3 billion. Like he's paying 14.9%. You know, so that's a lot. That's a lot. In case, by the way, recently Twitter did make its first interest payment. They made it. Good job, 300 mil. A lot of people were like, are they gonna pay? Like they didn't pay rent. Are they gonna pay because they didn't pay their anyways, it's been a whole thing. And it's kind of funny, like Bank of America, Barclays, they loaned the money. They're gonna, whoever is on that deal, I mean, not to make light of it, but they are probably no longer working there. I'm kidding. Maybe they are. Maybe Elon Musk charmed them like Saul Goodman from, you know, Better Call Saul. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to make this debt now linked to the actual assumptions because that way it'll be easier to sensitize. Okay, so 60. So this is going to be linked. This 0 is going to be linked here.
This is going to be linked. It's always better to have like your sources actually linked to your assumptions, because then, yeah, you want to make it dynamic, easy to create sensitivity tables. So your, MD doesn't yell at you, all that stuff. Okay. Awesome. So we have sources, we got uses. Sometimes you can do like a percentage of capital if you want, whatever. It's not really necessary, but you could if you want. Just to see like, yeah. So Elon Musk is funding like 72% of it. All right, big bucks from Elon Musk. That's the whole takeaway here. Now, what about actually like doing the actual financials and all that? Like that's cool that we talk about the debt. What about the financials? Let's take a look at that. So capital, so like Forks now have access to capital IQ. If you didn't, you could just either pull like 10Ks or use some other source where they do it for you. But since we have this, it's very convenient because I can just click download financials. It takes a while, but eventually it loads. So what do we got here? Well, what we can do is start putting in the historicals. And what I'm going to do here, actually, this is what I really like doing, is I like to put all the years up here. Usually within financial statement, you may want to show a few years, and then there's an issue here because it's not like he bought it like at December 31st, right? Because that would make our modeling really easy. So what do you do in this situation? There's a couple of things you can do. But usually what most PE firms will do is they're gonna create their forecast like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, rather than having it end at the fiscal year, because this is technically when he bought it. So you want to look at, so that's what we will do actually. But I will put the historical data in, not all of it though. I will say, let's go back like when did Twitter start going like really bad? I don't know. I mean, they've always been growing, that's the thing, but their costs have been not so well managed. But yeah, this is like the critical point. This is where like, oh wow, Twitter's amazing. Everybody likes tweeting, blah blah, the election, whatever, politics, and then suddenly they just started like ballooning in costs, partly because of regulatory reasons, because like everybody's like, oh, you got to monitor your hate speech, blah blah blah, and then so they added tons of people. I mean, obviously monitoring hate speech is important, but like they also add a lot of other teams as well, not just that. This is like an example. So long story short, their expenses ballooned. They became this like kind of like many firms that just overhired, unfortunately, and maybe they didn't, but Elon Musk kind of took a very drastic solution, which is very controversial. Anyway, without going in too much detail about that, that's what happened. And let's put in, let's go back like 5 years, I'd say. Let's go like like here to kind of this like peak and trough thing. Okay, so we're gonna go 2017. So I actually like to put the years up top because then I can just freeze the frame and like you don't have to do it anymore instead of doing it like 10 million times. So, and then he bought the company in 2022, right? So this is like LTM, 2021. And this is when the deal was done. So let's just call this LTM 2021. And then this will be, and these will be actual. So I'm going to just denote that in the formatting. The format cells is going to become your best friend one day. And then not really though, it's pretty lame, but it is important to denote what's going on. So this is the forecast, and this is also an actual, oh, I can just like literally just say A because it's whatever. Okay, so this is when the deal's happening. This is the forecast. Great. So we've established that. And I can start putting in some historicals. One thing I may do is just paste this in, or you can just hard code it in. If you're doing a monthly model, I would probably recommend just hard coding to make your model run smoother. But we're obviously not doing a monthly model because like I'm not here. I don't want to be here forever. So why don't we just copy it in? Because I don't know. It's just like easier to check, I guess. So I'm going to copy in. Well, we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to need all these three, like income statement, cash statement, balance sheet. So we're just going to copy it into the model. And I'm going to like just minimize that. It's capital IQ always like changes color when you copy it. I don't know why. It's like maybe they do it on purpose to be like, we know what you're doing. You're moving our tabs. We don't like that. Wait. Yeah, okay. Anyways. So but I create a new window here so I can see like two things at once, right? Very useful feature, Alt WN to do that. Okay, cool. So I don't think any question in the chat. So people are hopefully following along, not too bored, all that stuff. Okay. Income statement. Let's start just putting in historicals. The most fun part of modeling, putting in historicals. If you're an intern of banking, that's like the first thing somebody assigns you. They're like, do you want to put in historicals for us? Because that okay, so they don't really segment their revenue, which is fine. I'm curious if they have info about that actually before I start this. Yeah, they actually don't. So it is what it is. It's they make money off ads. What can I say? Like it's just that's pretty much it. And now they're doing their ridiculous subscription program. So let's just throw that in there for now. Okay. Total revenue, cost of goods sold. I mean, this, yeah. So like I usually do revenue growth. I'm curious how far we'll get today. We may not even be able to get to like much of the forecast, but hopefully we can get to some of it. To all of these, I like to just add a percentage of sales beneath it, right? Because that's how you're probably going to drive most of these items. And then we'll have SG&A, and just to save time, just like I'm just gonna like copy it all in, and then we can just like format it. Like sometimes you gotta just be creative and think about like what's the most efficient way to do this. So like fine, like maybe I'll just call this like not, you know, R&D is a big expense for them, and then we get to EBITDA, and then for all these, of course, I'm gonna add a little percentage of sales. Okay. Okay. So get down to EBITDA, the big, very important number. For most businesses, especially in private equity, this is the most important like kind of metric for valuing a company. Now, I'm also going to just make these like negatives because it's just going to be a lot easier to not make mistakes. You want to make your expenses negatives. Because I can just sum this, right? It's just going to be so much easier. And actually, what I need to do is also just add a gross profit as well. Okay, so we got EBITDA. Maybe I'll just make it some gross profit, SG&A, and R&D. And yeah, so that lines up here. So that's fine. Wait, am I seeing this right? They're making oh, you know what's happening? A lot of times public financials will do this. They'll embed their DNA into the SG&A. So that's kind of annoying. So I actually have to strip it out. So let me show you how to do that. This is actually a good example because when you're doing public companies, it's not like a case study where like the numbers are clean. You have to be like, oh no, the accountants are, being sneaky on me and all that. So I got to figure out what their DNA is, right? Where do you find that? The cash flow statement. So it's basically all this stuff, like anything with the word amortization or depreciation, I want it out. Now this part is clearly after yeah, so this is also probably part of the SG&A, I'm gonna guess. These are all probably getting hit in SG&A if I had to guess. Because they got to be somewhere in the income statement. I mean the tangibles might be R&D. So yeah, we can be like selective about how we strip this out. Other I'm gonna say is okay, so how do I do this? This is without amortization. And then so with amortization, I'm going to strip out these. So let's just get rid of these. Oh, sorry, we're going to strip out the other. I mean, So that's gone, and that's gonna get stripped out. So we can get a pure SG&A with no DNA. All right, great. Now you probably wouldn't want to like include in your income statement like this, but I'm just, I kind of want to just be efficient, so we'll just put it in. But what you can do is you can group it, right? If you're gonna do this, like that's the thing. You got to make a judgment call sometimes on like how clean you want your thing to look. Sometimes it's better to have a schedule at the bottom. But at the end of the day, you could also just do that at the end, like uh it all depends on like how rushed you are, right? Like do you have all day to make this? You don't? Okay. Make a decision. And then R&D, we're gonna strip out. So this includes amortization. Because I'm gonna assume that intangibles probably refers to their like, their IP, which is probably related to R&D. These are educated guesses. At the end of the day, as long as I have a rationale, it doesn't really matter where I strip it out from because it's like a small number anyway. Okay, so this is R&D excluding amortization. So those are the numbers that I'll actually be using, and we can just hide the numbers that don't actually matter. So now I'm going to just fix this formula so that it's going to be adding, and hopefully we can get to an EBITDA number that's similar. It's not quite the same actually. And this happens sometimes because the only way to figure out exactly how they came up with this 211 EBITDA is you just like click it and it'll tell you how they calculated it. And you'll see that like they added back the DNA, which is great. And then actually, why don't we just do a quick check because this is kind of important. So COGS matches SG&A. I have 1366. They have, and that's because I took out a bunch of DNA. They have the 1939, but then they just add back the DNA. So let's just see if this DNA matches. So they have 492. And that's like is that lining up with what we have? So I have 452, 121. This happens sometimes where like it's hard to like, and one way to figure out, just like Google it. Sometimes it's not the best source, capital IQ, like not that Google is either, but yeah, people are saying 211, so it should be 211. This DNA number, this 492, it doesn't really like all the numbers, other numbers are kind of fine, like the R&D 1523. Yeah, it's just the DNA. So like if I look at the cash flow statement, their DNA is 452. Like I don't see 492. I see 450. Oh, they added these two. Oh, I see. They just didn't do this. This other amortization, I think, may be below EBITDA. That's what's happening, right? So that's why my number's off a bit, I think. And that number is material. It's 120, and that's exactly the difference. So that's how you, yeah. Sometimes you gotta, I guess with capital IQ, if it's like over here, even if it's called amort, it's probably not above EBITDA. I think that's a takeaway there. So there you go, live and you learn. So we just get rid of this, is what I'm trying to say. And now our EBITDA is closer. Wait, hold on. Sorry, not this one. This one, my bad. Yeah, see, there we go. Now EBITDA matches, right? So you always want to do this when you're actually doing this at work, because it's one thing to do a case study, but it's another thing to like actually model a company, and then like you want to make sure it matches as you goes, and that's how you fix little issues like that. So we've got everything matching now, which is great. And so yeah, awesome. Okay, so I've stripped out the DNA that actually matters and not the amortization that's up after EBITDA. Get to, and this EBITDA number. Okay, so let's do the rest here. Okay. So below EBITDA, we're gonna have DNA. So now we can put in the DNA, depreciation, amortization. It's 0 there. Oh, right, because it's, but we're just gonna like link it back to here. So we can, I think let's just keep this simple. We'll just have one line. Like I don't think we need to have like two lines for this. Actually, let's just do it the way they do it, because like these are probably depreciation, two different things. Like one's probably depreciating. We'll call this depreciation. Let's just say, because that's probably like more PP&E, like office and stuff, and this is probably their like intangibles. So that's usually just called amortization. Okay, so that'll be here. Then we can have a total depreciation and amortization. There are different ways to forecast DNA. The quick way to do anything is just make it a percentage of revenue, but you can also create like a PPE schedule and an intangible schedule. And what we're going to do is it depends on, frankly, how much time I have later. These things always take longer than you think, because like they're not just like straightforward. Okay, anyway, so we have the DNA in there, and then now we can get down to EBIT. So EBIT is just EBITDA less the depreciation. That depreciation is pretty heavy. Like that's why I'm like actually kind of caring about it. So we should be getting down to similar numbers here. It's a little bit off because I think they're not including the amortization of goodwill here, which is interesting. I wonder where they include it then. They must include it. Do I see that 40 number anywhere? That's very interesting. So if they don't include it in their income statement, then where do they include it? They don't, okay, I see gain and loss, other non-operating expenses. No, it's not there. Interesting. Okay, well, anyway, let's say we don't include this for now, and just to get our numbers to match. I don't know if that, we can come back to that and figure out why it's not there. Okay. So it's depreciation. We're down to, okay, so now we're down to 281. Yeah, that is weird because I took it out here, right? So it's got to be somewhere. You know what? I actually changed my mind. I'm gonna just include it because sometimes these things aren't perfect, and it's better to just go through gut instinct. So yes, my EBIT numbers will not match, but that's okay. All right, so next we're gonna do, okay, so we have interest expense, interest income. This kind of stuff doesn't really make that big a difference, but we'll just put it in. You missed the depreciation. What? Okay. Did I miss something? I don't think I did right now. Yeah, I think we're okay right now. Because basically I'm like depreciating here, and I'm adding the numbers with the depreciation stripped out. And then I'm putting the depreciation back here. And then for some reason, they're not accounting for this amortization, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. Okay. Let's get the interest expense here, interest income. And then we're going to be down to earnings before tax. And then just to make this a bit faster, what I will do is simplify some of these other things. Currency exchange, or we'll just put it in the way it is actually, because it's pretty straightforward. So earnings before tax will be after this actually. So we have these currency, obviously these currency exchange gains in the future, they're just going to be set to 0. And other non-operating income expense, it depends how material it is. Right now, it doesn't look like it's very material. It's up and down. So we'll probably just make it 0 as well, because it doesn't seem like it's a recurring like source of income. It's just random. Okay, so maybe good to have net interest expense here actually. So earnings for tax, and then we're gonna go to that's excluding unusual items. They have some unusual items. And why don't we just put that, like, all this is just going to be other. Oh yeah, they're legal settlements. That's funny. Um let but yeah, we'll just say unusual items, one-time expenses. I'll put them here, but I'm just gonna like hide it because it's like a lot of text otherwise. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna sum these. These zeros are looking kind of weird, so I'm just gonna fix the zeros. So that's a sum. We can hide this because it's not necessary. Okay, so we get down to earnings before tax. And then we'll have income tax expense. And what is all this stuff? Discontinued ops. Okay, that doesn't matter. So yes, okay. So finally we can get down to a net income number. And then normally you would put in all your other historicals, but the thing is for the cash flow statement, the historicals don't matter. And the balance sheet I'd rather do later. I kind of want to just do something more exciting and just kind of look at the income statement forecast. So we're gonna do that next. Because normally you might put in the historicals for the balance sheet as well. And but I think I just want to, like, not bore you people. So down income tax expense, earnings from continuing operations, or just what's called net income now. I just want to double check something here. You got to be careful with these numbers because sometimes they don't. Yeah, see, like their income tax expense, if it's negative, it's actually positive. So I just need to flip the sign around. And my numbers aren't going to match because that DNA discrepancy. Like if I got rid of this, I think they should match more or less. Or they don't. Okay, let me double check what's going on. It might be to do with this. I think Cap IQ, they like don't have their negatives and positives always in the right way. So this is a expense. Looks like if I go from operating income, I add like net interest expense, and these two, I'll get to 33. So that makes sense. And if I go from 33 to this, all this stuff, 95.4. So that works. And then 95.4. So the income tax that we would establish, it's a negative. So that's fine because we made that negative. And then wait, so if I get rid of this, that would decrease that expense. And so why am I not getting the same number? Oh, because I need to add the one-time item. So that's just me. Mistake there. Okay, cool. Always good to match. Here we go. I can just collapse that. And now if I get rid of this, I think we should be matching. Yeah, so we match here and we match here. Great. It is a mystery why this is not added. Like it's clearly being stripped out here, but I think they don't take the amort to goodwill intangibles anywhere unless I'm wrong. It's really weird. Because like if it's not in here, right, then where is it? That's the question. But that is I don't know. It's very strange. Okay. Anyways, I'll figure that out later, but I'll leave this blank for now just to get the numbers to match. I'm gonna take a quick look at what Twitter's actual net income was in, let's say 2021. 221 million. Yeah, okay. So let's just leave that for now. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the forecast. So hopefully everybody's still following along here. So we're gonna go until about 1 p.m. So you know, so another 30 minutes, and we'll do this again next week. So how do we actually do the forecast here? So first of all, you want to understand what's going on with the company, right? I mentioned Twitter is facing some challenges. One source you can look at is what is Capital IQ say, or what is like FactSet or Bloomberg, you know, what are the equity, which is based off equity research analysts. So why don't we just take a quick look at that and see what they're saying. I'll just pull it up here, another screen here. Give me 1 second. I don't know why it's not working. Why is it not working? Oh, I have it open here anyway. Okay, cool. Okay, so the forecasts are saying that there are, okay, they don't have a forecast, actually. Interesting. But yeah, so but we know that Elon Musk has made some drastic changes to the company, right? So we know that he's cut the cost of goods sold because he's and the SG&A because he's laid off a bunch of people. So we can kind of like imply some info from that. I know he's cut, like if we look at the layoffs, so that's one area we can look at. They've lost some ad revenue. So if I look at Twitter, lost ad revenue, apparently Jesus, down 40% year over year. What this is going to be a ugly model. Now this is a random source, but I'm curious where they got that idea. Q4 2021. So this is, to be clear, this is like June 30th. This is Q2. So this is so apparently Q4 came down, was down like 40%. Wow. Okay, what was the Q3 then? So some of the actual results have come out actually, even though they were purchased. I guess they still posted some stuff. So we will have some actuals to work with for the forecast. And sorry, this should be 2022, my bad. Because that's when this should say 2022. So yeah, sorry, I was looking at the wrong number there. Okay, never mind. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they actually report their numbers like that. I was gonna say, well, but here's some info. Once again, these are all just random sources, but okay, there is info about Q4 recently. Let me just hop this paywall real quick. Oh wait, they actually need you to join. Okay, but here, okay, let's say this is the number. Okay, 1.025 billion. So I could have like what I could do in my revenue build. Where would I do this? I probably create like a new schedule somewhere, but just to keep things simple, let's just do it. Let's just have a quick build up here that we can hide later. Wouldn't recommend you doing this for work, but just for time and simplicity. So we got Q1. So Q1 here. This is for 2022, sorry, Q4. Let's take a look at Q3, and that's apparently down 35%. That does look low compared to last 12 months. What about Q3 2022 Twitter revenue? Okay, so that's the second quarter, sorry, Q3. They may not have reported Q3. Jeez. Article from Forbes is saying they need 64 million subscribers to replace existing revenue and cover losses with their $8 a month plan. Is he still doing that? Where did he scrap that? I think he's still doing it, right? I think he tried it. It sucked because there's so many like fake ones, but I don't think he's like completely scrapped it. So I think like we could like basically create a revenue schedule to figure out like what that means. But they lost a lot of ad revenues. It's kind of what I'm getting at. Like Twitter lost ad revenue. So for 2022 is going to be down for sure. We're just going to try to figure out how much it's going to be down by. Okay, no, this the arc I was just looking at. Yeah, so they're saying it's down 40%. This 1 billion is apparently down 40%, which is pretty nuts. Now they did save some money on staff costs. Okay, so let's just go with that number right now. And let's like if I took this number, multiply by 4, like what do I get? And how much am I down by? Like 22%. I'm okay with that. Like let's just go with that for now. And see what happens. I'm just kind of curious. Obviously we can do a lot more analysis on like the whole like all his niches that he's doing with the $8 and how many subs he's gonna get. And you could like create all kinds of schedules for that. But if we just kind of do a quick and dirty model, I'm just gonna say right. And then now normally I would want to make this an input. So I'm just gonna make this input. And normally I would have like a set of inputs, right? But I just want to like be constant time. So we're just gonna do this instead. I'm gonna get rid of all this up here. Okay, so revenue is going to fall 22%. Let's see how much, and that's assuming it doesn't fall even more, right? Because he's lost a lot of big companies that were doing ads, and they just didn't like what was going on with the company. It was kind of sketchy. Definitely a lot of Tesla competitors pulled out, for example. Economy's not great either. So we got revenue falling. Elon Musk Twitter layoffs. So number of layoffs. So about half of the employees were laid off, right? So we don't know the exact breakdown of how much those were cost. And so we can't just be like cutting SGA in half because there are going to be other costs in there too. So but what we can do is take a look at Twitter's expenses breakdown. So if I take a look at their most recent 10K report, I'm like, okay, give me your annual report. And they also have investor presentations. Those might be worth looking at too. There might be some more detail on how much money they're actually paying their employees prior to Musk's thing. So if I can find a expenses side, okay, yeah, see they actually break down their expenses, and this is helpful because I can see that how much you're spending on sales and marketing versus G&A. Twitter salaries and benefits total. We can also just we can also just like do some ballpark back of the envelope math. Like so if there were 7,500 employees and that's probably coming mostly out of SG&A and R&D. Cost of goods sold. I'm not sure what that entails, but I feel like less of that is labor if I had a guess. It's hard to tell, right? They don't really tell you a ton. But let's just make the assumption that it's mostly SG&A and R&D because SG&A stands for selling, general, and admin. Now, some of that's going to be rent as well. So we'd have to strip that out somehow. Twitter rent payments. Apparently they didn't pay rent for a while. So there's a bunch of rent they have to pay. Apparently in San Fran, it's like 140 grand. Hard to say. Like we have limited data, right? Because it's just like you have what you have. Okay, but let's say there are, let's make some assumptions, right? So there were 7,500 workers. We have SG, so like if you pay 70K, 70,000 workers, I don't know, like 100 grand, like what do you get? Like you get 7.5 billion, right? And then no, they're probably not making all 100 grand each, obviously, but so let's lower that a little bit. Let's say it's like sorry, that's 500 grand. This is in millions, so let's say, actually, why don't we just Google it? Average salary at Twitter. Whoa, it actually is pretty high. Like 100 grand was not that off, apparently. Okay, so if it's 100 grand. Wait, so that's 70. Okay, so does that add up though? If I have cost of goods sold, that's a lot of money. 7.5 million. That doesn't even add up though. So that can't be right. There's no way they could pay everybody 100 grand. I think that number is skewed. Let's say it's more like, because unless I'm doing my math wrong here, I might be doing my math wrong. 75,000 people times 0. Whatever million, because these are in millions. Oh, sorry, this should be. So like if I have COGS, SG&A, R&D. Five. What if it's like, let's say it's 50,000? Would that make more sense? Kind of. That would assume that there's like another 1.25 million of other costs. Let's say 60,000. I feel like 50,000 a little low. Okay, I'm gonna go with 60,000. Like once again, this is based off random assumptions, but that means that it's like another 500,000 that they're paying in rent and stuff, which could be right. I mean, they're probably paid more than that. But let's just for, let's say 55,000 is the number I'm gonna go with now, just because I want to just, I feel like there's more cost than just rent though, right? Like if they're paying 900, sorry, not 900 million. Oh, these are millions. Sorry, so it'd be like 900 million or 800 million. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go with 60 actually. So final verdict is 60,000 is how much the employee is getting paid. So we're gonna spend 4.5 million. And maybe I could just Google this. How much does Twitter pay in salaries in total? Half of Twitter's salary is above 75. Yeah, I don't know why it's like that. It could be a little, yeah. See, like here it says it all depends on the type of job. Okay. But they said like 75,000, that's a lot of employees, I have to say. Oh, I added an extra zero. That's why I was like, why are these numbers not working? Now I just realized I'm just being stupid. Okay. Now that makes a lot more sense. So if I say 7,500, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Because then we can say that actually works out, because the average Twitter salary is, sometimes that extra zero really screw you over. Okay, so there are a bunch of numbers here. Pay scale. This one's like, let's just go with the first one. Let's say it's 1.7. So and I'll build this like in an actual schedule. I'm just kind of doing back the envelope math right now. So the way you would make a schedule is you would just probably do it at the bottom. So here I'm going to say like employee salaries schedule. So we'll say employees. This is like LTM June 30th, 2022, let's say, or just June 30th. So they had, let's say 7,500 employees, ballpark. And then let's say they were getting paid 112, what was the number? 117. Yeah, you're right. There's benefits too. It's a good point. Thanks, Lorenzo. And then so 117.105. Sorry for the back and forth there. 117.105. And yeah, we could add 20% for benefits as well. So that's in millions. So I gotta just divide that by 1,000. Or so here, let me just do it this way. So it'd be 0.11. Yeah. Okay. So that ends up being 878 million. Cool. And then we'll add salaries, benefits to it. So like a 20, let's call it 25% benefits. So this is their total like salaries, benefits, and then kind of like salaries and benefits. So I'm seeing 1 million. I don't know if that's right or not, but it really depends on what you assume the average salary is. They're kind of different numbers. Like this one says it's 146. It really ranges. I'm gonna take a quick look. I'm kind of curious. Like here it says it's much lower. It's literally all over the place. Thought the average salary is. Whatever. Let's just leave one because it's like the first one. Okay, so they're paying about 1 million salaries, and then they have a bunch of other costs. I think that's fair because there's going to be a lot money other costs, addition to salaries like the building infrastructure, all that stuff. So he's going to cut half the workforce. So we'll call it let's be straight up. Let's call it layoffs. And let's just say this gets cut in half, right? So layoff percentage 50% roughly. What was the exact number actually? Too many tabs open right now. 37. Well, let's just say 3,700. So that would be almost half, not just under half. That seems to be the quoted number. So we can just take this number and multiply by 1 minus. So this is like pre-transaction size bad post-transaction. So we're basically gonna save $500,000 from these layoffs. Or not $500,000, $500 million. Sorry, I keep getting these units confused. We're gonna take it out of R&D and SG&A proportionally. I don't think a lot of it would be in COGS. Maybe some of it would be, but let's just not take it out of COGS. So basically, if I take like SG&A percentage of total, and then R&D, let's just get these numbers in first. This is LTM. So SG&A. R&D. So yeah, it's about 50-50 between these that people are going to get experience a layoff. So so we're going to allocate so savings. So this is like pre-transaction. And then we're going to have a post-transaction. This is kind of weird modeling. I know a lot of people are affected by this, so I'm not making light of it, but this is financial modeling. Sometimes you put in very things that are not pleasant into numbers. But somebody's got to do it. Okay, so SG&A is going to be reduced by this savings amount times that number, and then same here, but so more or less half split. So these will get reduced. As a percentage of sales, like we can also like take a look at percentage of sales impact. So if this was divided by the LTM sales, So yeah, basically it used to be like 28.4% here, and it's going down to 23.1%. So that's basically what's going to happen. We're just going to reduce it as a percentage of sales. Because believe it or not, Elon Musk is still going to hire people as assuming the company actually grows. It's just that it's going to be a slower, like a lower amount than before. So he's kind of like assuming like these are really rough numbers that could be completely wrong. Like I'm just kind of making stuff up here, but let's assume that these are what the new kind of like number is going forward. So we can forecast SG&A once again on these very rough back of the envelope numbers, what it is going forward. So yes, that is a drop. As you can see, it's a drop for sure. Does that drop seem right? It seems like it's 500 on both sides. Why is that? That seems wrong, actually. Oh, it's because revenue dropped too. So it looks like SGA's dropped a lot, but it's also because their revenue has dropped. So it's like if I'm making a percentage of sales, it will drop a lot. And I think that's fine, I guess. If they're literally losing all these big clients, then I guess they do have less work to do. There are gonna be some fixed costs they can't get rid of. So I am kind of being like realistically, it might not actually drop this much, but like let's give our friend Elon the benefit of the doubt here and be like, yeah, you can totally adjust your fixed costs downwards when your business loses big clients. The reality may be different. Okay, so we have EBITDA going up. I'm being very generous here. I don't like let's say, for example, we don't think the SG&A, like let's say SG&A can't just be a percent of revenue, right? Because the other way to look at it, right? Because this is a fixed cost, a lot of it, is to look at the change. And actually, that might be better because if these are fixed costs, then we should be looking at the change. But you can see that even though it's quote unquote a fixed cost, and historically it really started going up a lot in 2019, 2020. They hired a ton of people then. And like during the pandemic, they hire a lot of people. They did grow revenue a lot in this 1 year, right? Because of the pandemic. But it's like, okay, and then they haven't, yeah, and this growth rate actually doesn't really make sense because it's the last 12 months number, so we can't actually use that. But long story short, if I were to say that it's not going to go down that much, let's say it's actually like just going to go down by, like, is this going to become this number just for kicks? Let's just see what happens. So it actually goes up as percentage of sales. So that's kind of funny, right? It's like if they can't reduce their fixed costs other than the salaries, they still can't actually reduce this as percentage of sales because their revenue's falling so much. So we have to, so the truth is somewhere probably in between. Like I don't know if they can cut SG&A by an R&D by this much, right? So I think what we might do is just give them half of it. I know it's kind of like, but this is sometimes financial modeling. You just try to like guess. So why don't we drop it, put it to 25? I feel like that might be fair. So they're gonna save like a few $100,000 here and a few $100,000 here, but there are probably some fixed costs that they can't. And yeah, once again, that's something that's sensitized. So a bit of fun of numbers there, but that's financial modeling for you sometimes. If you're actually doing a real PE deal, you're gonna have way better info than just public information and just like me making wild guesses. If you're doing a public company, this is kind of what you do. So the EBITDA margins actually go up because of all these job cuts. Okay, so that's all great, but you're gonna see that once we get to the debt schedule, it's gonna be it's gonna be rough. Let's put it that way. So we're closing at the 1 p.m. Time. So I think for the rest of the time, I will just maybe talk a bit. Let's just take a step back and then talk a bit like what we're going to do next. So I know I haven't made a ton of progress here, but we have put in the historical financials. We'll see how many sessions this takes us. Like I am kind of doing this a little slower. because I kind of wanted to, it requires more thought. But basically what we got to do is finish the rest of the forecast, and we have to do a cash flow statement, a balance sheet, adjust the balance sheet, build a debt schedule, and then exit waterfall. So I have no idea how many sessions. It may end up being like a whole series that I do. But like, let's say I wanted to keep projecting this revenue. So they're down. What's the potential that Elon Musk can recover? Like, what are his plans, right? Let's just see what the internet has to say about that. So Elon thinks he can increase revenue to 26 billion by 2028. That makes zero sense. So you would call that the Elon Musk case. So we can build that in. So that's wild. Obviously, Twitter advertising revenue growth. The funny thing is Twitter's advertising revenue has actually gone up over time, right? It's just, and this is, I think, like, let's say, okay, so I think in the model, let's say they have this exodus, right? And then maybe let's say they start figuring things out, and they can resume, even in an optimistic scenario, let's say they start gradually getting back to the growth rate they had before. And let's say that ends up being like 20%. So this is one thing you could do, is like you could have a gradual growth rate. Sorry, my computer's freezing right now. Okay. So what we could do is, like, if I was like, and this could be in a case study too, it's like, have the revenue growth rate gradually go up to 20%. What you do here is you just take the difference between the two. So it'd be like this minus this, right? So that's a difference. And then we're just going to divide that by 4, because there are 4 years in between here. And we're just going to like add so this is, let's say this is what's happening. They also just started paying creators to add revenue. So initially margin's going to go down. Yes, that's actually a good point. Thanks, Lorenzo. Yeah, you're making a lot of good points. I appreciate that. Yeah, so we could actually have margins going down as well, right? As you can see, they used to be down more. So I think what we could have is, like, if let's say I took an average of the last 5 years, what would that get me? Like 34. So let's say it's like, yeah, let's say they go back to the average of the last 4 years, just for kicks. Let's just say, oops. Oh, sorry, actually it's gone higher. Sorry, not my bad. So let's say it goes up. Let me take a quick look at that, actually. So Twitter paying creators percentage ad revenue. What percentage are they paying? That's the question. Only for creators who create blue verified. So it's probably not going to be a huge impact, is my guess, because not everybody's doing this. Like, how many number of Twitter blue subscribers? I don't know if they even released numbers about that. Pay $8 a month to get something. And they do have this subscription revenue. Once again, I have no idea how many people are actually doing it, and that might help the revenue get back to positive growth again. So this may be like overly punitive, to be fair. So maybe they, like, let's say they get to flat, let's say they stop the bleeding here. I think I'm being overly punitive. And then they gradually get 20%. Let's just, like, hypothetically say they can somehow do that. So I don't know why this is 0, but whatever. And then let's say they gradually get up to 20%. So it'll be kind of like 20% divided by 3 plus the previous year. Okay, so that's fair, I guess, because they're gonna, like, eventually get to a number that's at least higher than what they started with, hopefully. So we're gonna say flat growth, stop the bleeding. Let's say margins go up, go down a little bit. So let's just make this 41%. and have it gradually get down to like, let's say 39%. So this would be like 2% spread over kind of 3 years. So it'd be like 0.02 divided by 4. And then just like the previous year minus that. So yeah, it's gradually going down. And then SG&A, let's just hold it flat. Let's say they can maintain this lower cost structure. And they may even get scale, right? Like, because we did say that it would be 23.1%, assuming the fixed costs were the SG&A is completely variable. They're not, but let's say eventually they can get to, let's just say 23% just to make it easy. So they're gonna like basically get down to like 23% gradually, let's say. So yeah, they'll get to double EBITDA. They're gonna increase their margins to 15%, which, to be fair, in the past they were up to like much higher back in 2018, 2019. So, you know, who knows what will happen? This is all just crystal ball stuff here, but that is a potential income statement forecast based on sort of kind of bit of limited data, but and a bit of just, you know, creative thinking. Hopefully that makes sense. So next time, so the next session I will be doing will be, unfortunately I do have to run to a dentist appointment, which is exciting as it sounds. But, and I also feel like if it's too long, people get a little bored. I'll be continuing this LBO. I think it'll be a little faster because there'll be less sort of like thinking about the income statement stuff, but it'll be on next Sunday, which yes, happens to be the day of the Super Bowl, but it'll be 1 to 2:30. And I believe the Super Bowl, wait, is that too close to the Super Bowl? Super Bowl time start. Oh, the Super Bowl starts at 6:30. So like you got yeah, you got like 4 hours to go to your Super Bowl party and get drunk, you know? So wherever you're cheering, and some of you may not even like football, so who knows, right? Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Does anybody have any questions before I go? Any comments at all? And really appreciate the folks who've been attending this. Like it does make it a lot more fun. Lorenzo in chat was throwing down some big catches, so appreciate that, and asking some great questions, and also some great questions from other folks on YouTube as well. But before I run, any questions at all?
Will this model be shared in Slack, or maybe is that like a next session thing?
Yeah, sure. I can share what I have so far. Yeah, in Slack. And the video should, I think there's like a live thing on YouTube, but yeah, and I'll post, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yes, it will. It's the long story short.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. So yeah, next Sunday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. EST. Really appreciate you guys attending. Any other questions? Okay, I think that's all then. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and would love to see you next week. I will, I don't know. I don't know how to incentivize you to show up, but Alex will tell me everybody who showed up and we'll give them bonus points or something. I don't know. I'll give you free stuff. Okay, thanks. Okay, talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, bye.